Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm so glad you're here, and so is our speaker, and so is Olga, who takes care of all things tech for us at our monthly free webinars. Our topic today is military families transitioning to civilian life, the costs and the challenges. Personally and professionally, I have learned so much as we prepared for this session, and I think you will too. So, our wonderful guest speaker is Candice Jules, and she will tell you more about herself when I hand off the training to her. You can see that she works as a housing caseworker for a nonprofit called Operation Homefront, and she has a history and is still part of the military. Just a few points to cover. You can check the chat box for any messages that are there. We do not share slides, they are proprietary. But the recording will be up on our website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel within the day or so. You can type your questions into the question box throughout the presentation, and Candice and I will answer as many as time permits. There are no CEs or certificates of attendance for today's webinar, but everything you learn will be of great value. I can assure you of that. If you have any technical issues, they can be addressed through the Log Me In link right here, and Olga will have that in the chat box for you. I like to begin our monthly free webinar with our financial social work affirmation because I feel that it captures what our work is all about and why we're here today. Just for today, I will love myself enough to face my fears, practice self acceptance, and embrace hope. Just for today, I will silence my inner critic, speak my truth, and make peace with myself and with my past. I will give myself permission to eliminate toxic people, beliefs, and behaviors from my life. And just for today, I will prepare for a better tomorrow by healing my relationship with my money and with myself. We begin by considering the importance of preparing children, all children, for the real world by teaching them about money. This has a thread throughout the training today, and it's so critical, certainly to the work we do at the Center for Financial Social Work, and likely for all of you at the training. No one chooses to have money problems, but most people do, because money is always the elephant in the room. And part of that problem for those of you working in financial health and wellness, financial literacy, all of these areas of helping others improve their financial stability and futures, we need to know that money is about so much more than dollars, cents, debt, math, budgets, and certainly crisis intervention. So we will take a quick look at financial social work, what it is and why it matters and why we're here, and then turn the presentation over to Candice. Financial social work is at the intersection of social work, politics, the economy, gender, economic, and social justice, and all financial inequity. It is the core of financial social work right here. Relationship with money and relationship with self. And that's a part that does go beyond debt, dollars, budgets, because that's the place we need to start with clients to help them heal around their financial problems, trauma, stress. Financial social work explores the fundamentals of financial health. That's the psychosocial piece, the thoughts, feelings, attitudes, belief, experiences, and values. It addresses financial behavior, how we earn, spend, save, share, and borrow. It is very, very much a behavioral model because until and unless behavior changes, nothing changes. And it is rooted in the trans theoretical model where we begin with pre contemplation and move on through the stages of this model to move clients in a better direction. It is interactive, reflective, and strengths based, educational, motivational, and supportive, holistic, multidisciplinary, and very much about financial healing. It's hopeful, helpful, and works perfectly with individuals and with groups. The process of financial social work and healing the relationship with money is about recognizing and taking ownership of your financial health and healing your relationship with yourself. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not likely to feel deserving or put the time and effort into healing. So it's about self discovery, self care, and self healing. Relationship with self and money means that budgeting, banking, saving, and other traditional money management basics cannot and never will meet clients' needs because before anyone can cope with what we have all traditionally considered financial education, such as dollars, cents, budgets, crisis, we must heal the relationship we have with our money and with ourselves. Goes for us and it goes for our clients. And we need to address financial trauma because it prevents anyone experiencing it from learning new money management skills, tools, or information. That is an essential and core concept of my work. Financial health and wellness are essential components of physical, mental, emotional, and social well being. This is a universal truth, which unfortunately is not universally understood. Crisis intervention as the principal method for helping clients with financial issues perpetuates a belief that financial problems are unavoidable and unpredictable. Certainly some are, but more are not. And our financial health can't, shouldn't, must not be an afterthought or uniquely specialized for certain people and not for others. It needs to be for everyone because clients need a hands on, in depth, engaging, and relevant framework to improve their relationship with their money and with themselves and to understand what's in it for me. We all want to know what's in it for us, and that's what engages clients into this process. How will they benefit from better, stronger, healthier financial health and wellness? The primary predictor of financial health and wellness, you probably should know by now, is an individual's relationship with money and with self. And now it is a great pleasure for me to introduce you to Candice Jules to turn over this training to her. Ready, Candice?
I'm ready, Rita. Thank you so very much. I just want to really thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here and to talk about this topic. It's very near and dear to my heart. It's something that I do on a daily basis as a professional. And like you said earlier, I am still a member of the military. So, you know, some of my fellow brothers and sisters in arms, these are some of the things that we face every day in life. So thank you for inviting me to be able to share my thoughts with other helping professionals. So help me take over here. So I change it to myself, right?
Right.
And then put up, okay.
Do you need me to help you?
Think, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
I think.
Can you see the screen? No, now.
Can't you see your deck yet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's a beautiful deck.
Okay. There it is. Now let me minimize this one. Okay. So today we're going to talk about military families transitioning to civilian life, some of the costs and challenges. I would never be able to speak to every situation, to every member. I'm more so speaking about the experience that a lot of enlisted members have versus the officer ranks. I've found that many, not that officers don't have some of these challenges. I just think that it's less of an issue with their population because they already have their education, and so they kind of have a leg up when they transition. Where some of the things that I'll be talking about today will be more for the enlisted ranks who don't really go through their military career to reap the benefits of retirement. So that's kind of the population who will be experiencing the challenges that I'll be talking about today. I'll be talking about some specific life changes for military families, both pre and post active duty, some of the budgeting basics for transitioning service members, how we can improve the financial situation post-service with using some of the concepts that I've learned personally through the Center for Financial Social Work, and some resources that are available out there for transitioning families. Again, it's not an all-encompassing list, just a few to get the ball rolling for those of you who are interested in resources to help this population. Okay. So for the first poll, I have Rita, help me. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to try to launch this. How many people do you think join the military each year? Let's put that up and see. What you guys think? How many people are signing up each year? We're almost there. Got about 65%. Okay, good answers. Is that about good enough right there? Are you going to keep going?
Yeah, 75.
Okay, we have about 75. Let me close it.
Close and share if you want results.
Okay. So let's see what you guys thought. And share. So I have the majority of you selected 100,000 join the military each year. Close, very, very close. So according to two sources, each year about 180,000 Americans actually enlist for active duty service. And like I said, that's the enlisted versus the commission part. So about 180 young Americans. And then another source, Veterans Coming Home, their website said that about 150,000, over more than 150,000 people enlist in the military each year. The average age of individuals who enlist goes anywhere from 17 to 35 years old. That's really important when you're talking about, money. What does a 17-year-old, what are their financial responsibilities? What are the financial responsibilities of a 35-year-old, and all those ages in between, and where are they coming from before they join the military financially? This question, I thought it was really important. Why do so many people volunteer for such a tough job? When you think about the military, whatever comes to your mind versus, going to college, or even getting a trade, or starting some other kind of career. Why do so many people join the military? Well, some people argue that the military recruits poor, uneducated minorities who don't have many other options. That really is a great segue into some of the challenges that military families face before they join and after they join. I read a New York Times article that was published in January of last year. So the information from the article, this is pre-pandemic. The pandemic has mixed up a lot of different things. The information that I got from this article is pre-pandemic information. This is a map of what they reported, kind of where the recruits coming from. Where are the biggest recruiting areas and counties in the United States? You can see the difference of 1998 versus 2018 and kind of the trends there. This same article made me pose the question, so, who signs up to fight? Well, in 2019, the Army made a push to increase recruiting efforts in 22 liberal learning cities like Los Angeles. As part of that, the Army Secretary, Ryan D. McCarthy, visited officials from the Los Angeles United School District in December to push for greater access. This is also pre-pandemic. So while he was there, he was doing sort of a listening tour, said Patricia Heitman. She's in charge of the high school instruction for the school district, and she said that the perception was that the military preys on disadvantaged students. I told him, from an educator's perspective, we sometimes feel that they're targeting Black and brown students and students of poverty. This same New York Times article also mentioned some words from Sergeant First Class Dustin Combs. He's in charge of one of the busiest Army recruiting centers in Colorado. And I'm not picking on the Army either. I think these trends are across the board. I'm in the Navy, but it speaks to the trends of the military as a whole. So Sergeant First Class Dustin, he stated that enlisting enabled him to build a good life where he felt proud to work. He got generous benefits. He never worried about being laid off. He earned enough that his wife could stay at home and raise their children. Show me a better deal for the common person, he said. This really speaks volumes to what's going on with military members before they joined. I was one such member when I joined back in 2006. This is a picture of my boot camp class. We were Division 117. It was a mixture of young men and women, and you can see we come from all walks of life. We came from all over the country. The map that I showed before showed a trend between 1998, the difference in 1998 and 2018. This was somewhere in the middle of that, and I joined from Alabama. My counterparts were from everywhere. When I joined, like I said, I was 22 years old. I was married. I had a child. I had not finished college. I had a little bit of experience in the medical field, but there weren't a whole lot of other options. Financially, I didn't own my own home. I think I was leasing a car. I didn't have a lot of the benefits that I did get when I joined the military. When I joined the military, my financial life completely changed, but I hadn't had a whole lot of money management experience before I joined the military. And like I say, the average age range of people who are in groups like this that you see here are between 17 and 35 years old. So, you know, these are young people with not a whole lot of life experience. Sometimes this is usually their first time away from home, their first time making this kind of money. And I'll tell you right now, boot camp did not have a single budgeting class. There wasn't a whole lot to prepare me for you know, financial success. And I'm not bashing the military, but you know, just speaking to what I personally was going through. So I spent 7 years active duty. During my time active duty, I completed 2 deployments, and I deployed overseas. So it was, you know, the potential for me to be in class and to get my education where there was a set schedule to be in class for a certain amount of time. It kind of wasn't, the opportunity wasn't there. And that's the same situation for a lot of young military members, especially when you first go in. The focus is learn your job. And so you're receiving your paycheck, but you're not doing a whole lot to kind of prepare yourself for life after the military. By the time I got out, I had received my, I did earn my associate's degree, but I struggled after I left the military. And now I am currently serving in the reserves, and I work for a wonderful company where we help other families who transition. So that leads us right into my next poll. What is the average length of enlisted service in the U.S. military? There's a lot of people don't stay on until they're 20 years. So like I found myself, I was enlisted for a little while and then I got out, but I was not receiving, you know, the retirement. I didn't stay in long enough to receive the retirement, the 20-year benefit. So what do you guys think? What's the average length of time that an enlisted member serves? And that really does speak to, you know, the financial situation that you're in, because you can earn a paycheck, you know, as long as you're in, and, you know, you can get used to that schedule, get used to that level of pay. But then if you get out before you have secured a retirement, your pension, well, then what? How many people find themselves in that situation? How long do we last?
I think we're good. Let's go ahead and share that.
All right, that's 72, 73%. I'm going to close it and share. All right, so the majority of you, 69%, said about 8 years. I was just shy of that 8 years. I stayed active duty for 7 years, but the average length of enlistment in the U.S. military is about 15 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So if you look at that as far as age is concerned, so the average age range going in is between 17 and 35. The average age coming out is between 32 and 50. That's not retirement age. So a lot of those people, a lot of those 35 to 50-year-olds are going back into the workforce. And a lot of times they're not receiving that earning potential that they had become accustomed to. And we're going to talk about that today. I have one more poll. My third poll. So how many people are in this group? How many people separate from the military each year? We know that between 150,000 and 180,000 join, but how many separate each year? What do you guys think? Okay. And even though these are big numbers, from researching and preparing, it's still only about 1% of our overall population. As far as yeah, what I've learned. Alrighty, we got 67%. How many people are separating? 68%.
We're good. Let's go ahead and share it.
Okay, I'm gonna close it. All right, so 44% of you think that it's 100,000 people who separate from the military each year. It's about double that. According to the Department of Veteran Affairs, every year approximately 200,000 men and women leave the service and return to civilian life. That was a report from 2018. So, again, before the pandemic. Transitioning out of the military typically involves a series of adjustments that include location, employment, education, family roles, support systems, and social networks. That leads us to what we are here to talk about today. So about 200,000 men and women every year, roughly between the ages of 32 and 50, find themselves in this situation. Some of these challenges, as far in reference to money flow, is really more so of like the schedule of your money flow. Like the Sergeant First Class from the New York Times article, a lot of people are joining the military at a very young age, so they have not, they didn't have to, go to college for 4 years before they were enlisted, and they start earning, $2,500 a month and or up at a young age. And your money comes on schedule. The 1st and the 15th, you kind of build your life around that. And if you're spending 15 years in the service on active duty and all of your bills are kind of scheduled around that 1st and the 15th, you become accustomed to that. But when you get out, that's not always the case. You don't always, your pay schedule may be weekly and it may be in smaller increments. It's just a different pace of how your money is coming. And so that is often a challenge that a lot of military members transition in, not just the service members, but the family members as well, because they also depend on that scheduled money flow. You also get different incentives. It's not just your base pay. In the military, you get your base pay. You also receive a stipend for housing. You get a housing allowance. You also get a food allowance if you live off base, if you have a family. And once you're out of the military, I've not had a job that has those same incentives. And so adjusting to that is often a challenge for a lot of military families. Being hired. When you transition, you get terminal leave. So you do get, you get a little bit of time to where you're still receiving your military pay, and you have a little bit of time, to find a job, wherever you're going once you transition out. But when you're enlisted, you don't always have to have some of the certifications that are required at most jobs. You may have, like I said, if the average time is 15 years doing one thing, you may have 15 years of experience in something and never had the time to get the official certification. So once you get out, and I think that recently, since I joined in 2006, and between 2006 and now, I do believe that the workforce, I do believe that these issues have been in the news enough that employers are trying to bridge this gap, but it is still a challenge. Without certain certifications, you may have all the experience in the world, but in the civilian world, you need paperwork. I work in the medical field, and I remember when I was getting out, it was a big deal. I didn't have a lot of time to get my medical certification. So once I got out, since I hadn't had the time to officially get my paperwork done, I wasn't able to get any better quality of a job than I was the 7 years before I joined. So a lot of people find themselves in this situation as well, being hired at a level where you can earn the amount of money that you were earning to support your family and the lifestyle that you have become accustomed to. So not only are you having to adjust to the money flow, when is your money coming? How much is coming? If you lived on base, you know, you often don't have to pay for utilities, and your housing allowance is used to cover the cost of your home. So you're still receiving your full base pay. In the civilian world, your paycheck is your paycheck. Your salary is your salary. You have to take out for insurance. You have to take out for, you know, your house, your utilities, and all of those things. And so that's a huge adjustment. Being hired at a level that will support those things that you're used to is often a challenge for many military members when they come out. Education as well. Like I said, so 15 years is the average time that most enlisted members will spend in. During those 15 years, you can get deployed every other year. I was able to earn my associate's degree in the 7 years that I served active duty, and that is because I went to school online. A lot of, you know, if you have a technical job or a job that requires you need to be in class, or even if you're that type of learner where you need to be in class, you don't always have that opportunity. You can't even always guarantee that every Wednesday night at 4 o'clock, you're going to be available to even attend a class. And if you have a family, that presents even more of a challenge for you when you have a military obligation. The military takes precedence when you are serving. And that's just the bottom line. So when you get out, if you have not furthered your education, that becomes, you know, a challenge for you. That definitely affects your earning potential. It affects your ability to be able to get a job that will, you know, pay you the amount that you would need to have to sustain the lifestyle that you may have become accustomed to spending 15 years in 15 years in the military. You can go from E1 to E6 so easily, and you may not be qualified to receive that level of pay without your education when you transition out, if you have not, you know, taken care of that. So education is definitely a huge challenge. Now, there are educational benefits, and the GI Bill, definitely, I received my master's, and I did use my GI Bill when I got out, and it also has a stipend that you can receive for housing. So just like when you're in the service, you receive a housing allowance. When you are pursuing your education, when you get out, if you apply for the GI Bill, you will have a housing allowance. That housing allowance does not pay for everything, so you will still have to have a job, and that's a challenge. You know, being a full-time student, and you have to be a full-time student in order to receive all of the housing allowance. Those are hours that you're not able to spend at work, and so that can be, you know, quite the challenge for a service member in that position. I was a single mother. I had one child, and I had to work nights. Well, if I was in school all day and work on most nights, you know, to bridge the gap from what I wasn't receiving in BAH, then I also had to pay somebody to, you know, to watch my daughter. So those are some of those challenges that's where that comes from with veterans. Another challenge is housing, very common. With housing, you know, you are often not serving in the same city, town, state where you want to live if you were to get out of the military. Like I say, I joined from Alabama. I spent all 7 years of my active duty service in Pensacola, Florida. I had never even been to Florida before I joined the military. And then when I got out, I moved to Texas. I had never been to Texas before, but my husband was from Texas, and so that's where we moved. When we moved, I went to school, but I came home. So when we moved to Texas, before we transitioned out, we started looking for a house. We started applying to purchase a home, and everything was lined up. Everything looked great. Once we officially got out of the military and actually like relocated to Texas, even though we had been preparing for a whole year prior to moving, the loan did not go through because once we had transitioned out, we no longer had the income that qualified us to be approved for that loan. And without another job that was equivalent to the money that we were making in the military, we were no longer qualified. So we ended up having to stay with family. And a lot of people find themselves in this situation. Even with renting, you need to be established. And a lot of times you don't have time to become established when you're transitioning out. You get your terminal leave. And that is what it is. It's not often enough time to continue to receive your military pay so that you can qualify for some of these things. Because when you apply for housing, no one's going to sign you up for a year lease if you can't prove that you can afford to pay for it. And how can you prove that you can afford to pay for it if you haven't secured a job that will pay you at the level that you're used to, or have the education? All of these issues are they're interconnected. They affect each other, and so a lot of families, they end up they end up being homeless. They end up staying with other family members, and it is quite challenging to transition from being so secure in your military career to being just not really having a lot of options when you transition. And a lot of people who transition out, it's unexpected. They didn't plan for it. They probably planned to be in the military for the whole 20 years and go into retirement. Maybe they got hurt and now they're no longer, eligible to stay in, and they find themselves in this situation. There are a lot of different scenarios, but housing is a challenge because of those factors. It's you often need to be established in a community before you are able to be qualified to rent or to qualify for a mortgage. You need to be 2 years, I think, on your job, and if you're getting out those LESs, your pay stubs that you receive from the military, they're going to go away. So, as helping professionals, where do we start? How do we help these 200,000 people who are finding themselves in a situation every year? I think that it's important to first begin to understand some of the psychological factors that influence financial choices. Speaking about the beginning, where were these individuals before they joined the military? Because the military does give you a lot of incentives. You get, like I said, you get your base pay, you get extra money for housing, and that usually cancels itself out. If you live on base, you will give up your housing allowance, but you also don't have to come out of your base pay for things like utilities or your health insurance, like your civilian counterparts do. So there's so much opportunity for the military member, to save and to prepare, but where are they psychologically? What are they thinking about? I even asked a few of my my comrades, when I go to drill, I'd ask about what are some of the financial challenges that you guys think you face, and some of them were talking about the fact that if you are planning to stay in forever, and that when you retire, you're going to receive, the pension that comes with the military, the push to put aside for, retirement like civilians do, is just not there. It's not part of your reality. And unless you become injured or you drastically change your mind that you're not going to go the whole 20 years, it's never really a thing. On the 1st and the 15th, you're going to receive your paycheck and you don't have to take out certain things. So once a family transitions to this new civilian lifestyle, it comes with a whole lot of other things that you just simply didn't have to think about when you were serving. And so as a helping professional, I really like how it was worded in workbook number 1. The psychological aspect of money. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your attitudes about money are central to how you relate to your money. Often more subconscious than conscious, your thoughts, your feelings, and attitudes about money are reflected in every financial decision you make. They are also reflected in how you choose to spend, save, or not to save. This population, the lifestyle that you live in the military, it's all about training your focus. It's not that the military makes you financially illiterate, because this certainly is not the case for every single member, but it is such a common thing that we have to believe that there's something to this, that is something to the lifestyle. If we're starting out, if the recruits who go in are not coming from a strong financial background, or strong financial families, strong financial communities, and then the military, I say the military puts them in these positions, to earn and to be secure, to have a job that you're not going to get laid off unless you get hurt, and then you're not fit to continue service. The lifestyle changes, and so the psychology of how they look at money, how they divvy it up, and what has to come out, it's totally different, and it can be that way for on average up to 15 years. And then when you transition out, and it's totally different. Those attitudes and what you were accustomed to, it doesn't go away. You have to retrain your brain. And so when you're a helping professional, helping people in this population, it's really beneficial to kind of know where they're coming from. The lifestyle is simply just different. So what are some budgeting basics that I found helpful with some of my clients? I like to think of this as making it make sense. So once you are, in this new lifestyle, you're a civilian now, you got a regular job and you're not getting all these incentives. Your paycheck is looking like a quarter of what you're used to, but you still have the same amount of mouths to feed in your home. How do you make sense of it all? Another tool from the Center for Financial Social Work that was really great is I think it's all about portion control. When you talk about basics, before we can talk about investing and this, that, and the third, we're talking about the bare minimums. Portion control is such a huge way to start to help families to begin to take control of their financial situation as civilians. You learn what you're able to do and what you may need to forego. How much should we be spending on housing? This tool and these percentages I use with just about every client on my caseload, and it really helps them to learn to live within their means. They're no longer receiving all of the extra incentives that they were receiving before. I've had some families that will start the program. They will be on a really good job, but then it's not like the military. You can be fired, you can be laid off, things can change, and so that different lifestyle really speaks to how important it is to live within your means, where it may not have been such a big thing while you were in the military and receiving all of the extra pays. You had a little bit more wiggle room when you were active duty. So portion control, super huge budgeting basic. Also, spreadsheets and tools like mint.com, apps where they can track their spending, learn the trends that they have, and see where is the money going. And also, every dollar has a similar tool as well. I'm a big fan of Dave Ramsey. These are just some of the basic things to kind of help military families learn these new concepts that they probably hadn't exercised before they joined, and they certainly may not have exercised once they got out. But it's very important to successful transition. What are some other things that financial social work? I feel like we're really good. The trans theoretical model of behavioral change was just an amazing way of kind of looking at it and kind of helping me as a professional meet my clients where they were. Like I said, going through this presentation, you kind of see where people were before they joined, and kind of, you know, I've spoke, you know, very generally to kind of the lifestyle, the way that it is, you know, while we are in the military. That's the pre-contemplation stage. It's not really an issue. I'm gonna get paid on the 1st and the 15th. If I get deployed, I'm gonna make even more money. I'm not having to worry about, you know, health insurance and center. There's really no problem with the way I'm spending money, because this is the lifestyle that I live. And for a lot of us, you know, while we're active duty, if we don't have a plan to, you know, to ever get out, I'm going to do this for 20 years, maybe 30, and then, you know, the military will pay me every month until I die. I don't have to put away for retirement. There's no problem here. I don't need to change what I'm doing. But once transition becomes a reality, you got to start thinking about looking at your money and how you handle your money and your money management a little bit different. And so we get clients at different levels of this spectrum. You know, we help them, we introduce them to tools like what I was using earlier, very basic things. This is not, you know, hardcore investment or anything like that, just basically teaching and reteaching people, adults, how to live within their means, because those means have changed. Your money flow has changed. You know, your education level, if you're pursuing an education and you're not able to, you know, earn or work, you don't have the hours to work a 40, you don't have the space to work 40 hours because you're pursuing your education so that you can get a better quality job, all those things. That's preparing them and giving them the tools and helping them to take action, giving them the tools to maintain those behaviors. It's just very important to meet people where they are and to understand they may relapse as well. Something may come up, you know, Christmas, emergencies. If you've been living a certain way for 15 years and all of a sudden, you know, you try to start saving, and you know, an emergency happens and you have to dip into that savings, that may cause you to, you know, to relapse a little bit. Like, you know, what is this for? Sometimes you can often be frustrated when you're not successful on the first try. But it's just very important as a helping professional to kind of, you know, take this in and to walk with our clients as they go through towards success. I like
Candice,
yes.
I hate to rush you, but the clock is ticking and you have so many more wonderful things. So let's go
Yes,
ahead.
I'm watching. I'm watching. I have it here. I have one minute. So the two other frameworks, I like the hierarchy of needs, and I like Erik Erikson's developmental theory as well as a helping professional, because they speak to where a person's priorities may be when it comes to their money. And I bring it back and tie that in with the trans theoretical model as well. You know, where they are, their ability to move forward in this model, it may be affected by, you know, do they have housing? You know, they may not be able to do some of the complicated things because they don't have that, they're not at their educational level yet to get a job, to earn, you know, so being cognizant of that as a helping professional is super huge. And some of the resources that I have found to be helpful are, of course, I love my job so very much. It is the best civilian job I have ever had. And not because I work there, but because we do life-changing work. our mission is to build strong, stable, and secure military families so that they can thrive and not simply struggle to get by in the communities that they work so hard to protect. That's my timer. We have a variety of programs, so I encourage you to research us. Go to operationhomefront.org and look up some of the programs that we have to help military families. Another one is Hire Heroes USA. This is a great resource for helping military families when they are trying to build their resume. In the military, you don't need a resume. If you want a different job, like I worked in medical, but if I was interested in working as a cook or as some other profession, I would just have to route a permission slip through my chain of command, and I could do that. Well, it's not like that on the outside, and your experience does translate into things that are valuable to the workforce, and this organization helps you make sense of those. They also have job fairs, they have mock interviews. It's a really good source for military families. This is another one where they have mentors, military transition, militarytransition.org. They have they have just a wealth of resources. I encourage you to check them out. This is for the actual military service member and civilian employer. And then last but not least, this is for the helping professionals. This resource has a lot of different groups and networks for the professionals. So if you're looking to find other resources for your client base, this is a great resource for you. So militaryfamilieslearningnetwork.org. And that is it.
Well, I thought that was wonderful, and I think that our audience must have too. And I just wanted to make sure you had every chance to get all that wonderful information to everyone. Those resources were really valuable, So let me see if I can get myself back up here and tell you that we will do Q&A in about a minute. I'm just going to share a few more thoughts with you. Thank you so much, Candice.
Yes, so, thank you for having me.
We have webinars all till the end of the year. Next month, we're doing social workers and money. We need to talk about it. That particular one will include a free CE from NASW North Carolina. And in October, we have financial and policy support for newly arrived refugees. And you can tell by Candice's presentation how helpful and informative these trainings are. Candice, I'm proud to say, is a graduate. She is a certified financial social worker, and our certification is a self-study, self-paced program that students have 6 months to complete. Includes all the materials plus the final exam. It also includes a Facebook and LinkedIn group for the Financial Social Work Professional Network. And that network meets on the third Thursday of every month on Zoom at 2:00 in the afternoon. And finally, please remember this. Clients overwhelmed by financial problems, stress, anxiety, and trauma they didn't know how to prevent and have no idea how to fix. They are unable to learn, improve, or practice new money skills. They need to improve their relationship with their money and their relationship with themselves, and all of the skills and tools that Candice just shared with you from financial social work and from her experience. They all tie back to that critical core component of financial social work. So, Olga, do you have some questions for us?
Yes, for sure.
Oh.
So first question. Every branch has a service member, family member center that typically has a finance counselor on staff, even virtually. That service members can access up to 12 months after service. Candice, do you have information what percentage of service member are accessing this service, and of that percentage, how many are successful in changing their financial behaviors?
That's a great question, and I'm so glad that was brought up. That's very, very true. No, I don't know the percentage. It's not part of like your training. You are made aware of it, like during orientation when you go to a new duty station. You are made aware of like all of the resources, but it's just I have also had to use some of their services when I overspent during my 7 years of active duty time, and they do, help you with a budget, but they are not part of your everyday, day-to-day kind of work. They're not a part of your training. It's a resource that you use, and usually service members don't go there until they are in financial trouble. They get out of financial trouble, and then they kind of go back into the lifestyle of the military, which is you need to be up to date on your training. You need to make sure that you're ready, to deploy. But the resources are there. That's a very good point.
Candice, I'd just like to say that one of the things I learned from you as we prepared for this was that there are resources, and that is one, along with the fabulous ones you've just shared. But when you're in the military, you have to be focused on the military, on your position, on your training, and be prepared to deploy. So it's kind of a catch-22. They're there, but do you have the time to access them? So interesting question. Thanks, Candice.
Thank you. Next is not a question, more an observation from Salem. I was a career counselor for the Army transition program for 4 years. The biggest barrier to salary that service members faced was lack of certs and lack of degrees. Experience is only one factor that is now being addressed in this current climate, but without these certs and degrees, expect a significant pay cut in civilian employment.
Exactly. Yes, I totally agree. That was one of the hugest challenges, because you don't always have, like I say, you don't always have the time to invest in that, and it's not always, a thought. It's not when you're in the middle. Like I said, you want to climb the ranks. You want to do what you need to do to be a functional and contributing member of your command. You often have other people in your pay grade that you're competing with to get to the next pay grade. It's about promotion. You want to be physically fit. You want to make sure you're up to date on the training that is specific to the military, to your job. You want to be an asset to the military. So a lot of your time, your focus, your energy is spent making sure that you are the best, sailor, airman, soldier, Marine that you can be, so that you are an asset to your branch. That does not always include, like, there's no block on your eval that says, how financially literate are you? That it's just not the main focus of what we do when we're serving.
Okay, thank you. And one more observation. Although benefits such as BAH, healthcare, commissary access, etc. Are listed in a service members LES allotments,
LES.
the social economic status is not explicitly stated or even discussed. This creates further challenges during transition, because a service member will be accustomed to living a middle-class lifestyle, not realizing that they do not necessarily qualify for a middle-class income in civilian employment.
Exactly. That is one of the biggest challenges, and that's what's so beautiful about some of the resources. Like I said, I have personal experience with my job, And I have witnessed firsthand, since I've been, with this employer, how life-changing it is. We put people in the position to where some of those burdens are not the focus. Our housing programs are phenomenal. Our critical assistance programs, they really bridge the gap where families find themselves because of exactly what you just said. You live at a certain level for as long as you're active duty, and then when you get out, your earning potential doesn't always match up to what you were used to, and you have to pick up the pieces, and you don't always know what those pieces are, so you haven't had an opportunity to prepare for that before you get out. So as a helping professional, I think that it's very important to network with other helping professionals, so that when you run across a person who has a specific need, it's just great to be knowledgeable about what's out there. There are services out there that help bridge the gap. Eliminating the gap, I feel like that's a work in progress, but at least being aware of what these common problems are, these common struggles are, and being aware of what other helping professionals, organizations that are out there to help families is really part of just being there.
Okay, thank you. And I think that's all questions we have since we're out of time. And Rita, if you want to say something, I can ask a few more questions if we have time.
You have one more question?
Just about financial social work, if we have time.
Well, it is time, past time, so we need to let Candice go, and I'm sure that everybody that joined us has meetings they have to get to. Candice, thank you, thank you, thank you. So many people are saying thank you. They really appreciated it. It was a great training, and I hope we'll see you back here one day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. I was just super excited to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts with you guys.
Well, you taught us a lot, and we appreciate your enthusiasm. And everybody, we hope to see you back here either next month or at another time. And we hope you all stay well and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, everybody. All right. Bye now.
Bye.